Hi, I'm RC Jim, and as we continue on in our repair of the Super Air, now is the time to do something with a wing. So let's have a look at the issue. In this video, we'll do the uncovering of the wing, having a look at the structure, and make a plan for what we're going to do for the repair. So, watch. Well, as we look at the wing that was on the plane when it crashed, it's a bit of a disaster. Not only the brake, but also as you look at the patch that was on it from previous repair by the previous owner, it's got a few problems. But fortunately, we were provided with another wing from the previous owner, and that has also been damaged. It was in a crash, but it looks like it's in much better shape, and so I think we'll use that one. And should be a little bit less work to repair it. Still has some significant issues, but nonetheless, that would appear to be the way to go. So what we're going to do is we will pull off all of the covering, and that will allow us to be able to see what we've got inside. It is a little bit tempting to think about just leaving the old covering on and patching it up, but we'll have a much better result if we simply pull it all apart. And given that the fuselage is going to get recovered, we may as well recover cover the wings with something that fits that same scheme. As we pull it apart and bits fall out of it, general practice is that we save the bits. Okay. Now, even if it's impractical to actually use the bit or not, it's not going to be a suitable repair. Sometimes the bits can give us hints on just the shapes of things and stuff like that. So save the bits. You can always throw them away later. Well, as we come to the aileron, the question comes up, that's all nicely covered and everything. Do we just simply leave it as it is, or do we take it off? Color scheme will definitely be different when I cover this. I'm not going to have the original markings on there. Travel is less than ideal going up. Lots of travel going down, but getting resistance rather quickly going up. So I think we can do a better job of by just simply taking it off, recovering it, and reattaching it. There would be a third possibility if the travel was okay, and that is to actually cover right over the join, leaving it on there, taking the covering off, but with a new covering, putting the iron down in there and actually putting the covering right across the join, what I've done before. But given the limited travel, and typically when you add the covering in there, it makes it even worse, this one's got to come off. They are just simply CA hinges glued in. They got a bit of reinforcing there, but we can add some reinforcing if needed. So, nice tough hinges, that's good. And there we go. Okay, there's the aileron. Nice lightweight construction. Holes all everywhere except where the control horn is. Does that make sense? They have little formers in there to give it strength. So the covering's now off, and we can have a closer look at what we've got. This one here has got a rather nasty thing in that this plywood bit that this aluminum is attached to is busted right out. I'm thinking that on both of these it needs a little bit more reinforcing on the root of the wing where that tube is. Nice and super heavy out here. My tube is a little bit longer than the old one. The old one was aluminium. And the tube that I've got to replace it is a little bit longer. So potentially we could go not quite to there, but we could pick up something a little bit more out there and make that a little bit longer. Right now we've got the stop that's in place here. So we'll think about that as to whether or not to do that. It actually could only go looking at the angle of that tube coming in there. It probably wouldn't make it all the way to here anyway. But we might have something that attaches between there and there to sort of take advantage of that little bit extra length. Okay, but this thing here means that I'm going to have to open it up. Looks like there's a, yeah, okay, we've got this piece coming across through here. And it's got a little bit of a T piece that continues along there too. So we might try to stay on this side of it. Most of this is on that side of it. And have access to that. This bit here, this one has got the plastic tube still in place. So I think out here we just make it such that it's just a tight fit on the carbon fiber. With this one, the whole plastic tube is missing. It's all busted out. So this one we've got to make a new tube for that. This one looks like, okay, we can see this plywood thing in there and see where this is screwed onto it. So that's still solid on this one. And that's just simply holding it in. That's not actually providing any strength in terms of the wing bending. That's just simply an attaching point. How does that work? Let's see, that fits into the fuselage. So these things aren't actually attached together. And you're just wondering about that other wing where it is attached together. And yeah. Okay. So go like that, and this would be farther in. So that's just attaching it to the fuselage. So that's interesting as compared to this one, where the wing goes all the way in. Okay. This fits onto the bottom of the fuselage. That is a mystery. This is the one that I crashed. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, this is the one that I crashed. And this just attaches to the bottom with two bolts going through it there and the attaching points at the front.
This one obviously doesn't go together, and it had plugs that went into the wing. Had the Super Air logo on it. It was definitely Super Air. Same sort of plane. But the fuselage just sits on top of that. So it would have had to, this goes into the side of a fuselage. So this must have been a different version of the plane. So it's a bit of a puzzle as to how the previous owner ended up with this wing that isn't the same as the wing that was on the plane, but still from the Super Air. So maybe he recovered it from another plane. And note as well that with the tube in place that it's wider here than there. It's still, the back of it isn't quite straight, it's still a little bit out here, so it's, must have been that was the shape of the fuselage. Let's grab the fuselage and have a look. As I look at this, my guess is they had another version of this plane where the fuselage was built right across down here and the wings attached on to the side of the fuselage, and then they modified it to where it was a single-piece wing that just attaches underneath. So I think we're going to make a single wing out of it. And what we might do, is make it a shorter wingspan. If we attached it together like that, and where is this going to go? So if we make it a shorter wingspan, this tube will actually make it all the way out to these outside ones. So I would think that would add some significant strength to it. Now the question is whether the tube will make it past that and still get to there. I think so. It'll be tight. Okay, this tube, when it comes to the end here, is going to be right up against the panel that's the wing spar. But it won't go into the wing spar. Okay, so that's going to be okay like that. Okay, so what the plan is, rather than build in a middle section, I'm going to make a shorter wingspan to where these things are attached together. We're going to have the wing spar come all the way out. And actually, I'm going to have all this built together anyway. Yeah, that's small enough. I don't need to have this a two-piece wing. This is going to be a one-piece wing. And so I can actually epoxy that wing spar in there. Originally, what I was going to do is where you need a tube for a wing spar, you can take some butcher paper or something that's reasonably strong like that. Take this, wrap it with baking paper, so you got the baking paper all around it. Then wrap the butcher paper around it, but paint it with white glue as you roll it up. Okay, so you roll that several thicknesses of that butcher paper around there, keeping it really tight with that white glue. Finish it off with more baking paper. Get it as tight as you can around there. Put tape around it to hold it in place. Let it all harden up, and then pull it off, and you've got a nice heavy paper tube that works quite well as far as the support for this. The baking or the paper tube doesn't add an awful lot to the strength. The strength is in the carbon fiber. But it provides a nice place to slide it in and to hold it in place, and probably helps a little bit distributing the load at the various points. But in this particular case, I think what we're going to do is we will just have it go through the formers and I will just simply epoxy it. Although we got some big gaps in there. Okay. So we're still going to have to build it up with something in the actual places where it goes through because it's too big. For the holes here and here, we can make them the right size to fit a snug fit. But for this one out here, it's going to need something to help fill in the gap. And then out here, we can make a panel that goes into that's the right size. Okay, so that is the plan for that. Landing gear, obviously attach in this thing out here. That looks reasonably good. Obviously this one has got to get reconstructed out to there. Whole brand new one there. I think for this one, okay, that's solid there. I think what I'll do for this one is I'll make a new one from about here to out there, and then I'll have it doubled up with something that overlaps. Well, these pins, we'll have to have that removed on one side, and the other side can stick in there. These ones are shorter. That's a servo bay for the ailerons. Okay, this one we open up in here, doctor that up a bit, and we've got to again make another panel for that. With these two things glued together, that's also going to double up that one there, so that's going to be helpful. Okay, let's get into it. So, which one do we want to tackle first? Hard one? Okay, we'll do the hard one first. Well, here we are. We know what we need to do now, and so got a work cut out ahead of us. So I trust that you're enjoying the series on the repair of the Super Air. If you haven't seen the previous videos, make sure to check them out. Have a look at our playlist on the repair videos, and you'll find them there. But to keep these things handy, well, make sure you subscribe, you know. Keep them right there at your fingertips so that you can go back and view the things that you need to see. And of course, all the time we're producing new videos. Well, I'm RC Jim signing off. You have a great day and enjoy your flying and your repair work.